Hey friends, quick talk. So there's a moment that comes for most survivors, and even if you're not a survivor, if you're currently in the midst of a suicide situation, then perhaps you've said this to yourself. Many of us have. We say, if I had known, I would have done everything. I would have dropped everything. I would have stayed there 24 hours a day. I would have never left their side until this was resolved. Let's talk about why you shouldn't. There's a difference between being a caretaker and being a warden. Let me give you a real story. I'm just going to change the names. John and Jane have been married for several years. John and Jane have a good relationship. Everything's fine. They have their fights. They have their squabbles. Everybody does. Everybody has setbacks. But John and Jane's marriage is solid. They trust each other. They're open with one another. But one day, Jane starts acting a little bit differently. And she tells John, I don't feel like myself. I think I'm depressed. And he says, okay, well, let's be proactive about this. John and Jane go find a therapist. They talk through it. They do couples counseling. They try to figure out what the problem is. Jane seems to be doing okay, but about 6 months go by and things continue to go downhill. Jane has gotten into more fights with John. There's more testing behavior. There's more pushing away. There's suspected infidelity on Jane's part. All of these things that makes John ask her finally, are you trying to push me away? And Jane says, I don't know if I can live like this anymore. And John says, okay, what does that mean? She says, well, I just can't do this, and I don't know how to get better, and I don't think it's gonna get better. So John says, okay, I have a couple of weeks of vacation saved, so I'm gonna take them, and we're gonna reset. We're gonna do everything we're supposed to do. We'll talk to the therapist, we're gonna have movie night every night, we're gonna cook meals at home, and they do that. And John spends the next couple of weeks with Jane all the time, sleep in the same bed, talks to her while she's in the shower. They cook meals together, and when she's not up to it, he cooks for her. Groceries are ordered in. It's movie night and binge night every single night on the streaming platforms. John thinks it's helping. Jane seems to be improving, or at least not sliding backwards. John says, I think everything's fine now. I'm going to go to the store instead of ordering groceries today. I'll be back soon, and we can start cooking dinner. And Jane says, okay. John's gone less than an hour. When he comes home, Jane is dead. The note that she leaves him says something to the effect of, the last couple weeks have shown me that I am nothing but a burden. I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. The thing about the suicidal mind is that it will find a way to twist every situation into the worst possible version of what it could possibly be. Someone can say, I love you. They can sit there with you, and a normal person whose brain is not trying to kill them at that moment would say, wow, this person really cares about me. But for many people who are suicidal, I can attest to this for you. We see it all the time. The immediate thought is, I'm a problem. I'm a burden. I'm not the prisoner here. The person that's trying to save me is. They have to give up everything just to watch me, and when they're not watching me, they're worried about me. I can't do this to them anymore. When you do this kind of gesture, when you go that far out of your way to show somebody that you are there for them, if their brain is not operating logically, you're not going to get the logical response that you're trying to achieve. Saving somebody from suicide is not a one-time deal. It is not transactional. You do not pick them up and move them out of the way of the speeding locomotive and say, there, it's done. This will obviously never happen again. That's not how it works. Saving somebody who is making a suicide attempt, if you are there, if you can do that, you can literally pull them back. That's just slapping a Band-Aid on a broken hand. It's not going to get you anywhere. You have to treat the root cause of the problem. And it's important to remember that suicide is often about control. When someone has no control in their life and their brain is trying to kill them, it's convincing them that things are hopeless, it's convincing them that things won't change. The two highest rated themes in suicide notes collected anywhere in the world. That hopelessness, the feeling that things won't change, and the third highest is feeling like the person who takes their life is a burden. Now, we as survivors know that that's not true. And we as survivors know that we would do this. We would do exactly what John did if we knew what was coming. And while some of us were blindsided and had no chance to do it, and that's a whole other thing we have to contend with while we're grieving, those of us who did know, who might have tried everything, there may have always been that sliver somewhere in the back of your mind that said, they're not really going to do this, right? If you can't understand why a suicidal mind would do this, congratulations, your brain isn't trying to kill you. You're not supposed to understand how this works. But for a suicidal person, this isn't entirely within their control. Their brain will find the worst possible way to do this, the worst possible way to interpret things. And this is just one of countless examples I and everyone else that works in this field could give you, where we've heard this story, we've seen this song and dance over and over again. You can't become someone's warden. All it will do is serve, for most people, to prove to them that they are nothing but an inconvenience. That in order for them to live, someone else they care about has to give up their entire life just to worry about them constantly. And that is not a way any normal person wants to live. No rational mind wants to contend with that day to day as it is. But if your brain's trying to kill you, it's more often than not going to have a reverse effect than what you're hoping. So the difference between being someone's caretaker and being their warden is giving them tools, giving them encouragement, affirming them, helping them out, pointing them in the right direction, but you can't make that choice for them. You can't take the control from them. They have to regain control on their own terms. They have to help themselves on their own terms. That Band-Aid on a fist isn't going to fix the broken hand. They have to treat that. They have to do something about it if they want to survive. And we can give them all the help and encouragement in the world, but we ultimately cannot make that choice for them. So if you are suffering with this thought, if you have lost somebody and you are worried about this, I want you to consider what I have just said. We all might have been willing to do this. That does not mean it would have given us the result we were after. And while we will never know for sure, the odds as we see them, day in, day out, do not support that it is a viable strategy. So I hope this absolves you someday about that entire thought process if it is plaguing you. And if not, we have lots of other videos to help you put the pieces in place. You can do this for yourself. I trust in you. Have a good day, friends. Bye for now.